Naniniwala ka ba sa end of the world, Nostradamus prediction, zombie apocalypse, at ang sinasabi ng Biblia? Sa videong ito, makikita natin ang kaibahan ng sinasabi ni Nostradamus at ang sinasabi ng Biblia. Panoorin natin ito.
Si Nostradamus ay pinanganak sa Saint Remy de Provence, Southern France noong ika-14 ng Disyembre 1503. Isa siyang tanyag ng manggagamot, kabbalist at pharmacist sa France na kilala sa kanyang aklat na Les Prophéties, ang unang edisyon na inilathala noong 1555. Ang mga hula ni Nostradamus ay ipinahayag sa mga taludtod na tinatawag na quatrains. Marami sa kanyang mga hula tulad ng The Rise to Power of Adolf Hitler at ang Second World War ay naging totoo. Sinulat ni Nostradamus ang 6,338 mga hula kung saan marami sa mga ito ang naganap na. Sakop ng kanyang mga hula ang panahon na umaabot sa taong 3797. Walang nakakaalam ng sikreto ng kanyang mga prediksyon. Ang mga Nostradamus quatrains ay patuloy na pinasisigla ang mundo. Bagaman isinulat ito halos 5 siglo na ang nakalilipas. Higit sa 70% ng kanyang mga hula ay naganap na at ang ilan sa mga pinakakilakilabot na mga hula ay para sa taong 2021. Narito ang ilan sa mga hula ni Nostradamus para sa taong 2021. Ikawalo, mapapalapit ni Pope Francis ang mga tao sa simbahan. Hindi alintana kung gaano karaming taon si Pope Francis ay mananatiling pinuno ng simbahang Katoliko. Iiwan ng Santo Papa ang isang mapagbiyaya at malalim na kahanga-hanga na pamana. Ang simbahan ay magiging isang lifeboat, ususi ng kaligtasan para sa maraming mga tao. Kailangan nating alagaan ang bawat isa, lalo ang pinakamahirap, pinakamahina, ang mga nagugutom, nauuhaw, mga estranghero, mga hubot-hubad, mga may sakit, at ang mga nasa bilangguan, sabi ni Pope Francis. Ikapito, brain chip implants sa mga Amerikanong sundalo. Ang mga sundalong Amerikano ay magiging isang uri ng mga cyborg, kahit man lang sa antas ng utak para maisalba ang lahi ng tao. Ang chip na ito ay dapat magalok sa atin ng kinakailangang digital intelligence upang umunlad sa kabila ng mga limitasyon ng biological intelligence. Ito ay maaaring mga hulugan na isasama natin ang artipisyal na katalinuhan sa ating katawan at utak. Kung baga ang utak ng tao ay may limitasyon at dahil sa chip na ito, madadagdagan ang kaalaman ng sino mang magkakaroon nito. Ika-6, lindol na sisira sa California. Ayon sa interpretasyon ng quatrain na isinulat ni Nostradamus, isang napakalakas na lindol ang sisira sa California sa taong 2021. Inihula ni Nostradamus na isang matinding lindol ang tatama sa New World, ang Western Land, at ang California ang luhikal na lugar kung saan maaaring mangyari ito. Ayon sa mga astrologo, Mercury in Sagittarius, Saturn fading. Ang sumusunod na petsa kung kailan ang mga planetang Mars at Saturn ay nasa posisyon na ito sa kalangitan sa Nobyembre 25 ng taong 2021. Ikalima, isang kometa ang tatama sa mundo. Ang kaganapang ito ay magdudulot ng lindol at iba pang mga likas na kalamidad na nakapaloob sa quatrain.
In the sky, one sees fire and a long trail of sparks.
Ang iba pang interpretasyon ng quatrain na ito ay iginiit na tumutukoy ito sa asteroid na tatama sa daigdig. Kapag pumapasok ito sa atmosphere ng mundo, ang asteroid ay masusunog at lumilitaw sa kalangitan tulad ng apoy. Inihayag ng NASA na ang malaking asteroid ay malamang natatama sa mundo sa susunod na mga taon, pagkatapos magpalabas ng alerto ang ahensya ng Amerika. Ang asteroid na tinatawag na 2009 KF1 ay may pagkakataon na tumama sa Earth sa ika-6 ng Mayo 2021. Ang NASA ay darating sa konklusyon na ito, kasunod ng mga pagsusuri tungkol sa trajectory nito. Inaangkin ng NASA na ang asteroid na ito ay may kapangyarihang tumama sa Earth na may katumbas ng 230 kiloton na puwersa ng paputok na TNT. Ito ay nangangahulugang 15 beses na higit pa kaysa sa nuclear bomb na pinasabog ng mga Amerikano sa Hiroshima noong 1945. Ika-4, solar storms. Ang 2021 ay magiging makabuluhang taon sa mga tuntunin ng mga pangunahing pandaigdigang kaganapan. Magaganap ang mga malalakas na solar storm na maaaring magdulot ng ilang mga pangunahing pinsala sa mundo. Makikita natin ang pagtaas ng tubig at ang lupa ay bumabagsak sa ilalim nito, ayon kay Nostradamus. Ang mga mapanganib na epekto ng mga pagbabago sa klima ay hahantong sa digmaan at salungatan dahil ang buong mundo ay mag-aaway sa mga resources at kasunod nito ang mass migration o maraming tao ang lilipat. Ika-3, pamumunuan ng Muslim ang mundo. Ang Camel ay ang populasyon ng Arab na nakatira sa Europa, lalo na sa France at Germany, o ang mga imigrante na kasalukuyang nasa pintuan ng ating kontinente. Gayon din, binalaan ng mga eksperto ng demografiya na lulupigin ng mga Muslim ang Europa sa susunod na mga dekada nang hindi na kinakailangang magpaputok ng kahit isang baril. Ibig sabihin, masasakop nila ang Europa sa mapayapang pamamaraan. Malaki ang bilang ng mga emigranteng Muslim at mga refugee. Samantala, ang mga European ay kakaunti lamang. Pangalawa, taggutom. Inihula ni Nostradamus na ang mga unang palatandaan ng katapusan ng mundo ay kagutuman, lindol, iba't ibang sakit, at mga epidemya na nangyayari na sa ngayon. Ang coronavirus pandemic mula 2020 ay kumakatawan sa simula ng serye ng hindi kanais-nais na mga kaganapan na makakaapekto sa populasyon ng mundo. Ang tagutom ay isa sa hindi na naranasan ng mundo dati. Ang sakuna ng malaking proporsyon ay magdadala sa atin pabalik sa kasaysayan at ang malaking bahagi ng populasyon ng mundo ay hindi malalampasan ang sumpang ito. Simula sa 2020, pagkatapos ng 248 taon, pagsamahin ng Saturn at Capricorn ang mga puwersa nito kasama ang Pluto. Ang pambihirang pagsasama ay magbabago sa kapalaran ng mundo. Ang Saturn sa Capricorn ay responsable para sa mga social hierarchies, kapangyarihan ng estado, otoridad at katayuan, at ito ay kaugnay sa Pluto, ang planeta ng kamatayan, pagkawasak at pagbuo muli. Una, zombie apocalypse. Ang Russian scientists ay lilikha ng biological weapon at makagawa ng virus na maaaring gawing zombie ang mga tao at lahat tayo ay malilipol sa malapit na nahaharap. Ang mga quatrains ni Nostradamus ay naglalaman ng nakakagambalang prediksyon sa mundo. Base ito sa parehong kaalaman ni Nostradamus at mapanganib na panahon kung saan siya namuhay. Ang 8 mga hula ng 2021 ay naghahayag ng mga fragment ng prediksyon ni Nostradamus para sa ating mundo. Tandaan na ito ay mga hula lamang, maaaring hindi ito mangyayari o maaaring maganap sa hindi inaasahang pagkakataon.
10, we have the return of Jesus. So in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 29 to 31, as well as other places in the New Testament, the words of Jesus are recorded about 2,000 years ago that he will return in the future to judge the living and judge the dead. Now, of course, this is a core Christian belief that is reflected in the Apostles' Creed, which is a summary of the Christian beliefs. Now, it says, immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. And at the time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory, and he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that near the end of this episode, by the way, but the next prophecy at number 9 is the gospel being preached. So in the book of Matthew 24 verses 14, it says, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." By the way, if you don't know, the gospel means the good news. And in this context, it's the good news about Jesus and what he offers in terms of salvation and eternal life. Now, of course, with increasing worldwide availability of TV and the internet, Christians believe that now there's a greater potential for the gospel to be preached to everyone, everywhere on the planet. So pretty much we're living in this prophecy happening right now. There's also a prophecy of false messiahs, and Jesus prophesied in the book of Matthew also that there would be false messiahs that come before his return. So in Matthew 24 verses 23 to 25, we see the following statement. "And at that time, if anyone says to you, 'Look, here is the Christ,' or 'There he is,' do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. See, I have told you ahead of time." There's also mention of an unequaled destruction and a time of suffering. So it's prophesied that yes, this is actually going to be a real time. People are going to be suffering a lot. Now, many people have offered their different interpretations and opinions on this prophecy, and some claim that this has already happened, or is currently happening, or is still going to happen in the future. Now, some opinions involve claims of widespread destruction and nuclear war, etc. And now Christians do believe, though, that no matter what happens in this world, no matter how bad things get, God is ultimately still in control. And we find in the book of Matthew, again, in chapter 24, verses 21 and 22, it says, "For then there will be a great distress unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened." Another very interesting prophecy that takes us into the book of Luke of the New Testament is a destruction that will happen in Jerusalem. So in the book of Luke, in chronological order, that is the third gospel, specifically in chapter 21, verses 23 to 24, it says, "How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. There will be great distress in the land and wrath against this people. They will fall by the sword and will be taken as prisoners to all nations. Now Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled." So we see here in the Bible that Jesus prophesied that the Gentiles, which is pretty much another word for non-Jews, would actually trample upon Jerusalem until the end of times. And actually about 40 years after Jesus prophesied that, the Romans actually came in, they destroyed Jerusalem and the temple and forced the Jews into exile. And the temple to this day in Jerusalem still has not been rebuilt. Alright guys, so we reached halfway in this episode. If you're enjoying it so far, be sure to leave a like on this video. And if this is your first time here at FTD Facts, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, stay a while. We post videos daily, so be sure to come back here every single day to learn something new about our world, the people in it, religions, culture, all here on FTD Facts. Alright guys, so we got 5 more prophecies to take a look at. And by the way, if you do hear any background noises, it's just that I'm filming from home. I don't live alone. So from time to time, I'll do my best to try to edit out all the background noise and everything, but from time to time, some of them might slip through the cracks, so just giving you a heads up on that. Well, at number 5, there's a prophecy of the love of people growing colder. Now, in the book of Matthew 24 and 12, it records this: "And because sinfulness shall abound, the love of many shall grow cold." Now, it's not just talking about the followers of the faith, but also people everywhere. No need to elaborate on this one, just look at your local news and you'll see what people are doing in the world. There's also a prophecy coming at number 4 about wars, famines, and earthquakes, and this is what the Bible actually has to say about this. "And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be great famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrow." And you can find that in the book of Matthew chapter 24 verses 6 to 8. And as a matter of fact, a lot of prophecies are in the book of Matthew and the whole New Testament in general. But either way, it can be pretty unsettling thinking about the amount of earthquakes, floods, droughts, fires, famines, plagues that have happened quite frequently actually. Now I did touch on this one earlier, but prophecy number 3 is about false teachers. Now, there are many men who will not listen or obey the truth, whatever that truth is. And this prophecy is specifically talking about false teachers, those people that promote lies to actually deceive people, which is actually their intention. This is not necessarily referring to people who are simply just ignorant, but either way, for whatever reason, people out there are purposely going to promote lies. Prophecy number 2 in this episode is a 7-headed wild beast. Now, this wild beast with 7 heads is introduced in the book of Revelation, which is actually the last book in the Bible. And it actually represents a world political system. Even though nations may agree on a few things, they unite in their determination to actually maintain their authority rather than submitting to another kingdom or nation. Based on popular interpretation, this nation will also join forces to battle against God's army, but this war will result in the nations being completely destroyed. And you can find this in the book of Revelation chapter 16 verses 14 and 16, as well as chapter 19 verses 19 and 20. And the final prophecy that I want to mention in this episode from the Bible is the rapture. Now, it's safe to say that most Christians believe in the rapture. However, a smaller amount believe in a secret rapture. How the prophecy of the secret rapture is explained is that it's the first stage that occurs when Jesus Christ comes in the air in secret for his saints to remove them from the earth up to heaven. Now, this is called a rapture, and that word rapture comes from the Latin word rapturo, which means to catch away. Now, the belief of the secret rapture is supported by various biblical texts. For example, in the book of Genesis 5 verses 24, we see Enoch, and also in the book of Hebrews 11 and 5, Enoch is mentioned. And also the prophet Elijah in the book of 2 Kings chapter 2 verses 1 and 11. These guys were both raptured up to heaven. Now, most Christians, however, believe that the rapture will not be a secret, and as a matter of fact, they believe that everybody will know when this thing is happening. Those who died holy will come out of their graves, and those who are alive and holy will be caught up in the clouds with Jesus and his angels and taken to heaven, leaving all those people who are unholy dead on the earth for a certain period of time.